Hey you guys, it's your girl Pound Cake and I'm coming to you today with a video. I'm going to go ahead and go over some entry requirements for Thailand as well as exit requirements. As you all know, I went there for my birthday and I think about the first 6 days of my time there has dropped, and I just want to kind of go ahead and give you guys a little bit of insight on how to get in there and how to get out of there. And if you're interested in that information, go ahead and keep on watching. All right, y'all. So if you're still here, that means you want to know entry requirements for how to go ahead and get into Thailand. And I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you. Now, I have my phone, of course, with some notes, just so I don't forget anything. So just keep me, on track on providing you the information. Now, the first thing that you do in regards to getting into Thailand is wanting to go. I definitely recommend that you go. I had the time of my life. It was an amazing experience, and I recommend that you go as well. So that's the first step, is go ahead and want to go. Let go any fears or anything that you have in Thailand. Let it go and go. Okay. All right. Now, in order to enter Thailand, you have to have a Thailand pass. What is that, you may ask? A Thailand pass is just approval from the embassy that you are pretty much okay to enter their country. And I went ahead and got a Thailand pass, but you have to submit information before doing so. And what you have to submit is your hotel accommodation receipt, along with your flight information, the time of stay that you'll be there, along with travel insurance. Now, Thailand recommends that you have travel insurance, and so do I. But their requirement is to have a minimum of $50,000 along with COVID insurance as well. That way, if something were to happen, it's not coming out of their pocket and you're covered. You guys know I always pretty much talk about travel insurance and how important it is. And it'll only cost you a couple of dollars. Like when I went to Thailand, I paid like $21 for 2 weeks of insurance with zero deductible. You can't beat it. And if something were to happen, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. You feel me? But yeah, so you would take that information along with 2 prepaid COVID tests. Now you have to get 2 prepaid COVID tests from a facility out there. That way you have those receipts to submit as well for the Thailand pass, because they do want you to prepay for your COVID test, because you're going to be a part of a sandbox program, which I will get into in a moment. But you would input that information to get approved. Now, it does take about 3 to 7 days for them to make a decision to approve you. However, my approval came back within 24 hours. So it just depends. But once you're approved, you print that out, they'll give you a QR code and you're good to go. Now, you don't have to have a visa to go to Thailand, which is a good thing. So once you get your approval from your Thailand pass, you're all set and good to go. So there'll be nothing further that you would need to do prior to you getting to Thailand. And the last thing that you have to do, of course, which is pretty much going anywhere these days, is to obtain a COVID test. It has to be a PCR test within 48 hours. It does not require you to have a QR code. However, it just has to be a negative test within 48 hours of arrival. So not departure, but arrival. So just be mindful. If your flight is going to take you 24 hours, then get your test 24 hours prior to you landing. You understand? Now, even though we're in different time zones and time frames, they do account for that. So don't worry about it. Thailand's I think 14 hours ahead of where I was in the US, and I landed like a whole other day and a half after, and they were fine with it. So just be mindful. COVID test 48 hours upon arrival. Now, I'll get a little bit more into the sandbox program. So I was in Phuket, and what the sandbox program is they give you 7 days. You have to, it's not necessarily quarantine, but you'll have to stay within the parameters of Phuket for 7 days before you can explore other cities like Krabi or Bangkok or wherever it is that you choose to go. But you would have to do so after your 7 days, okay? Now, the reason for the 2 prepaid COVID tests are because you gotta test the first 5 days. So you test upon arrival when you get there. You gotta test 5 days after that, and then on the 7th day, you'll test again. So those are the 3 tests that you'll take. You take 3 tests within 7 days, and as long as you're negative, you're good to go. But I'll actually elaborate that in a little bit. Also, I recommend before doing so that you print everything out. Print your Thailand pass, print your COVID test, print your hotel details, print your your like flight information. Just print everything just because it's good to have in case they need to take a look at it, obtain it. Sometimes your phone may not have service. You know, it's just easier to have all the documents printed out in a folder. I always put my information in a folder. That way if I have to give it to them, they'll have it. Now, when you book your hotel accommodations, I forgot to mention is try to look for a SHA plus hotel. And what that means is most of their staff, like 90% of their staff has been vaccinated, and you, let's say it's something, you know, God forbid, when you landed, you tested positive, you can still stay in there and wouldn't have to stay elsewhere and pay additional money, if that makes sense. So make sure that it's an SHA plus hotel when you do book your accommodations. Now, let's talk about the airport and when you arrive. So when I took my flight, the first leg was 17 and a half hours actually, from LA to Singapore. And then from Singapore to Phuket was an hour and 30 minutes. So it was super easy after I got to Singapore. But of course that first 17 and a half hours was a little tough, but the last hour and a half was fine. Now they're super thorough. Now, super thorough. As soon as your plane lands, there's a group of people who have like on hazmat suits, a little extra, but I get it. They have on hazmat suits and they'll come and get you and take you to a seated area. And then this seated area is where you'll be placed. There's about 30 rows, maybe 15 seats in each row. And what it is they're gonna sit you there once you're off your flight. You sign on your little declaration forms or your little forms that they provide to you, get your papers in order. That way, they'll go over a little briefing for you for like 5 minutes, and then by row they'll take you to the health portion of the airport. So what you do is they'll line you up by row, then you go see I guess like a health clerk, and what they do is they go over all your medical information, so your COVID test, your vaccination. I'm not sure what type of system they reference it in, but you know, they're thorough in Thailand. So you go through that for 5 minutes. Once you're done, someone's gonna escort you to customs. You go to customs, you do your fingerprints, and they give you your entry stamp, and you're good to go. And from customs to baggage claim, you're pretty much free. Do what you like, everything's good to go. You grab your bag. Now when you grab your bag, I've noticed in like these different countries that you go through like TSA twice. So once I grab my bag, they send me back through like another TSA type of space, and they scan my bag, and I'm just like, bro, what is this? Like, I already went through that. But anyway, all in all, you go through that. Once you're done, you think you're scot-free, right? You're leaving the airport, there's an exit. Before you make it out the exit, there's people there that's gonna stop you because you have to test. Now, once you step outside, there's people who are gonna take you to like an assembly line of people, and they're gonna assign you to someone. You show them your paperwork, show them your receipt for your first test, and then they're gonna they're gonna give you your swab and your vial and a little baggie, and you're gonna think that you do it yourself. No, you take the baggie, someone's gonna take you to a little like ice cream stand style box, and only the arms are exposed, and someone's going to go ahead and do a test for you. Now they're super thorough. When I went, they had me lift my head up, lift my head down, blow out my nose, and then they tested me. I was like, yo, this is like crazy, right? Super thorough. Then you're good to go. What happens is you're gonna have to quarantine, but prior to doing so, someone's going to escort you to your ride accommodation. So whoever's picking you up, whether it's taxi or hotel, whoever is picking you up, they have to escort you and know where you're going, right? So that's when the whole SHA plus comes into play, because you have to have a government approved hotel to go quarantine in. Now, like I said, I was in the whole sandbox test and go program, and as long as my test came back negative, my arrival test came back negative, then I'm good to go ahead and explore and move about Phuket as free as I want within those 7 days. Now, I went to my ride, took me to my hotel, and once I got to my hotel, I was good to go and move about the country. And just to kind of give you a little bit of information as well, you have to stay in your hotel until your results come back. Okay, and I took my test around noon, and my results came back around 7:30. And what happens is your hotel will get the information first, and then the hotel will send it to you. So they want to make sure that the hotel knows, in case they have to come knock on that door and do what they got to do, they're the first to know to inform you. But I was good to go. I got my email, and I was able to go ahead and move about the country. Now, in doing so, after that, there's no stipulations. Like I said, you have to stay in Phuket for those 7 days. And then after those 7 days, you are good to go ahead and do your thing elsewhere. And you won't have to test anymore until, of course, you're leaving. So in order to exit Thailand, you need your negative COVID test, of course. I flew into Singapore to have my layover. And my layover was like for 4 hours. Now, in order to get back into the US, I'll have to have a COVID test within 48 hours. But Singapore requires it within 24. So I had to get a test within 24 hours. So I got my test that day before I left, and I was good to go. It doesn't have to be PCR, it can be an antigen test as long as it's done, you know, within that time frame. Your vaccine card, and I mean, that's pretty much it. You get your exit stamp, and then you're free to go home. Like, you'll be back in your country in no time, and of course take all those experiences with you. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. I'm going to of course leave all the details below in the description section of all the information that I have as far as Thailand pass, or what the current information is. Like right now is March, and I was in Thailand back in January, but the things are constantly changing. But I will go ahead and put the information, the most up-to-date information, in the description bar, along with the insurance, and just, you know, prepaid COVID test if that's, you know, information that you have. Now, in regards to my hotel accommodations, I'm gonna go ahead and just do a wrap-up video of that. You have the details on all of that. Just, you know, overall the time that I had there, as well as you know, how I booked my trip, my budget friendly tips that I always provide you guys, because y'all my people. So I'm gonna of course give you the juice. But aside from that, that was the entry and exit requirements of Phuket, Thailand, as of now. But of course, like I said, I'll put the information down below. And you know, already know how this thing goes. If it's your first time here, I want to welcome you. If it's not, I want to welcome you back. You know, we love you here. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.